Ah, my weekly box of fan mail. Wait, where is it all? This has got to be some mistake. Just one. Great. Oh well, let's see what we've got. Having carefully considered, we have determined that in order to compete in carry optic, you're gonna need a carry optic? They can't do this to me. I'm an important internet celebrity. I demand justice!
Raw 9mm. Hey John, when's this guy gonna get some subscribers, huh?
Hey there guys, Raw 9mm here, and today we're looking at the Swampfox Justice. On the previous episode we looked at Sentinel.
Oh my goodness, that's so cute.
It's so tiny.
Look at that guy.
Well, Justice could be described as the big brother of Sentinel. Before I begin, I do want to let you know that I am in fact one of Swampfox Optic's sponsored competitors, and as a result of that, I do periodically receive products from them in exchange for representing them at competitions and reviewing their products in an unbiased fashion. This one, quite literally, fell in my lap. Thank you, Swampfox Mike. That being said, let's open the box. Swampfox Justice Micro Reflex Sight 1x27 dot. Let's have a look. The famous Swampfox instruction manual. Liberty and Justice are the next generation red dot sights optimized for everyday carry and law enforcement use on reciprocating pistol slides. To add to our collection, a Swampfox sticker, technical support link. Now regarding that little card, I am pleased to share with you the fact that I tested Swampfox's chat support the other day and they answered in less than a minute. I spoke to a charming guy called John. A battery, cleaning cloth, MOA adjustment tool, Swampfox multi-tool, a set of various screws, and finally the optic. Now, like the Sentinel, the Justice does come with its own cover. Let's take that off, have a look. It's a nice snug fit. Oh yeah, this feels good. It is also light. I know this does weigh 1 ounce. Let's pop a battery in there and have a look. So I'm going to use the included tool. Going to gently undo this. There it goes. Grab our battery, a CR1632. Battery just pops in, check that dot. There it is. Let's pop that cover back on there. Nice. The day before installing the Justice, I took the 320X5 Legion to the range to do some tests using iron sights to establish a baseline. Here they are. Now let's talk about the specifications. The Swampfox Justice weighs 1.1 ounces and is only 1.25 inches wide and 1 inch tall, yet the reticle is a massive 27mm wide with unlimited eye relief, and is parallax free at 33 yards, which is ideal for my purposes. Apparently there is some parallax effect discernible past 100 yards, but I'm not going to be shooting at those distances. It's crafted in one piece out of 7075-T6 aircraft grade aluminum. It's initially cast in a mold and then refined to final specifications on a CNC machine. Like my Swampfox blade, which you can learn more about in a review here, this is a 1x magnification optic and has 10 brightness adjustments that are controlled with a pair of digital press up-down switches. It is rated waterproof to IPX7 standards, meaning immersion in water for 30 minutes at a depth of 1 meter, and is multi-coated to be anti-fog, hydrophobic and anti-scratch. But unlike the blade, it's almost twice as shockproof, able to withstand 1500 Gs. To quote Swampfox Mike directly, you could literally, if you were crazy enough, use this on a Barrett M8250 cal. In fact, Swampfox is so confident in their product's shock resistance and build quality that every optic has a 50,000 live round guarantee. To quote Swampfox directly, if your optic fails prior to firing off 50,000 live fire rounds, we will repair or replace it for free. Nope, we're not tracking shot data, we'll go by the Warrior honor code and your best estimation on whether or not the optic failed prior to using it for at least 50,000 rounds. That seems pretty fair to me. Justice mounts using the popular Trigicon RMR footprint. If your pistol uses a different mount system, such as Sig Sauer's proprietary Romeo mount, you'll need an adapter. Many manufacturers out there, including CH Precision Weapons, Springer Precision, and Trigicon, produce RMR to other format adapters. If you intend to mount Justice to a rifle, then Swampfox manufactures their own 1913 military standard Picatinny rail mount, which is available on their website. Speaking of Trigicon, I happen to have a Trigicon RMR right here. Now, this isn't intended to be a comparison review, but I think it's interesting to have a quick look at the differences between the two optics. Trigicon's battery is underneath the optic, meaning that you're going to have to take the optic off the gun to replace the battery. That's going to necessitate re-zeroing the optic after you've replaced the battery. The Trigicon RMR also uses this bottom plate and proprietary O-ring seal, which feels delicate and easy to lose. Justice, on the other hand, uses a top feed battery tray, so there's no need to re-zero every time they change the battery. And the waterproofing O-ring is in the battery cap up top. It's less delicate and there's definitely less to lose. The Justice does have a slight blue tint to its reticle, but the Trigicon RMR's blue tint is significantly more noticeable. Now, I can't talk about this optic without briefly talking about MOA. Now, you may be thinking, what the hell is an MOA? Well, for a full explanation, see my Blade Part 2 video here. But for now, I'm going to tell you that MOA stands for minute of angle. Justice has a 3 MOA dot, which means that the dot covers a little over 1/4 of an inch area at 10 yards. That's perfect for IDPA, USPSA, and Steel Challenge, which is what I'm using it for. Sighting in should be pretty easy, as the 3 MOA dot has 45 minutes of angle adjustment in each direction, 90 minutes of angle total left to right and top to bottom. Each mark on Justice represents 1 MOA adjustment, with larger tick marks every 5 MOA. Justice is powered by a CR1632 battery, which are pretty easy to come by and are relatively inexpensive, so keep a spare in your range bag. The real-world battery life is expected to be approximately a year. To paraphrase Swampfox Mike, change it out every year on the holiday of your choice. Now, personally, I'm going to do that every April 21st, which is National Tea Day. I'm going to be mounting Justice to my Sig Sauer P320 X5 Legion. I'm going to be using the following tools. It's always worth repeating that anytime you're going to work on a gun, it's imperative to make sure it's unloaded. Start by making sure the magazine is removed, rack the slide 3 times, then visually check the chamber from the safe end before proceeding. The Legion's rear sights are fixed to a removable cover. Once I've removed the slide from the frame, and the guide rod, spring, and barrel from the slide, the cover comes off by first depressing here on the rear extractor spring guide, sliding off the rear slide plate, sliding out the extractor assembly and extractor, before unscrewing the two 3/32 screws that hold the cover and rear sight assembly in place. The plate will then lift off. Because my SIG is set up to accept a Romeo optic, an adapter is necessary. I'm using a Springer Precision mount plate. At 4.5mm thick, it only raises the Justice a negligible amount. The Springer plate comes with screws and blue thread locker, and once the mount plate is in place, we will attach the Justice directly to the mount plate. The Swampfox manual suggests using blue thread locker to ensure that the screws securing Justice in place don't start to come loose during usage. I'm using the leftover thread locker from the Springer Precision install. Swampfox recommends tightening to no more than 15 inch-pounds. Now, I don't have a torque wrench that precise, so I gave it my best guess and just nudged it about a 1/16 of a turn past snug. I'm going to allow the thread locker to set overnight, and then we'll sight in and run some tests. And here we are back at Jackson Hole Gun Club. I've already taken the time to roughly sight in the Justice using my laser light system back home. Today we're going to actually put some live rounds down range, see where we are. Okay, so I am a hair off to the left. So I am about 1/10 of an inch off at 10 yards, which is about an inch off at 100 yards. That's about an M away. I need to go just a fraction to the right. Gonna turn this just a tiny bit. That might do it. I'm gonna give that about 5 MOA up. Should be about there. Let's see how that works. I'm going to repeat those same tests using Justice and then compare the results. Let's talk about iron sights versus using an optic. Now, it's immediately apparent that my performance in these tests is better with an optic than with using iron sights. Bear in mind that I'm shooting reasonably quickly at 8-inch targets that are between 45 and 75 feet away. And in order to make that shot with iron sights, you're going to have to be pretty damn sure that you're on target. Part of the target is obscured by the sights themselves, and it's hard to accurately determine that the notch is equidistant between the posts that quickly. With an optic, on the other hand, it just doesn't present those problems. The target isn't obscured at all. And no judgment call regarding sight alignment is necessary. Just put the dot on target, and providing you've got decent trigger control, you're going to hit the target where you intend to. If you shoot at night, a dot is going to be way better than iron sights, even if your irons are fiber optic or tritium. A big complaint I hear at the gun club during night shoots is that the harsh artificial lights completely blow out their iron sights, and a dot is just not going to have that problem. Now, I think that iron sights have a slight advantage when you're at close distances where you can just draw and front sight the target with reasonable confidence, whereas with an optical sight, you've got to play hunt the dot. And by that, I mean that in order to be as fast with an optic as you are with iron sights by front sighting, you've got to have enough practice in that you can draw and index the gun in a manner that consistently brings the dot in line with your eye. In this rather embarrassing clip, you can see me playing hunt the dot after reloading. Generally speaking, my initial target acquisition is slightly slower with an optic, and then once I'm on target I can just go much faster than I can with iron sights. Now let's specifically talk about the Justice. The build quality on this thing looks and feels amazing, but once the Swampfox iron sights shields is available, I'm going to seriously consider getting one. I don't have concerns regarding Justice's durability, but I like to take good care of my stuff. Sighting in was extremely easy, and I wanted to let you know that Swampfox Mike has made a video about how to sight in your dot sight. It's available here. The optical clarity is superb, better than optics I've used that cost way more. The projected dot is clear and sharp, providing you've set the brightness to be appropriate to the ambient lighting conditions. You don't want it to be on minimum brightness in direct sun, you just won't see it. And conversely, you don't want it to be set at maximum brightness at night, it'll just blow out and look spiky. But this is typical of all dot sights. I've only put about 250 rounds down range with Justice, but so far zero hasn't drifted at all and everything still feels rock solid. Do I wish anything was different? Yeah. I would have liked it to have some more tactile and audible feedback when making adjustments while sighting in, and I would have liked more tactile feedback when pressing for the brightness adjustment buttons, but these are very minor issues. Although my interest in firearms is purely for sporting applications, IDPA, USPSA, Steel Challenge all have divisions specifically for carry optic-enabled pistols, which is what I'm going to be using this setup for. I do respect the fact that some will be looking at Justice for law enforcement and other home defense applications, and I feel confident that it is good for both. I'm also confident that this would be a suitable optic for my SIG MPX carbine, or even that VR80 that we previously looked at. Is this too big to carry concealed? Well, with the incredible variety of excellent compact and subcompact pistols available these days, you're probably not going to be carrying a full-size pistol concealed. So why would you mount a full-size optic on a carry pistol? I mean, you could, but why would you? This is not a budget optic. If you want a cheap optic, then you can get a cheap optic on eBay, and you're going to definitely get what you pay for. Actually, that gives me an idea for a future episode. Justice does, however, represent excellent value for money. Definitely a buy once, cry once situation. I can't foresee putting a different optic on my 320. This one's staying on there. Swampfox have been kind enough to provide an affiliate code that'll save you 20%. Buy direct from swampfoxoptics.com and enter code RON9mm at checkout, and you'll save 20% off the entire product range. So whatever optic is right for you, they've got you covered. Now that we've seen Sentinel and Justice, comment below and let me know. Do you own a dot sight? Let me know what you think about it. That wraps it up for the show, apart from a couple of moments of blatant self-promotion followed by a catchphrase. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please like, share and subscribe, and ring the bell. Comments can be sent on the back of a postcard to P.O. Box Ron 9mm, Jackson, Wyoming, or simply down below. And always remember, as a wise man once said, you can't miss fast enough to win. Take care. You're still here? Cool. This just arrived in the mail. I wonder what it is. Ugh.